Fort Bragg Training Ground. 241 soldiers in perfect formation. It was supposed to be a routine combat demonstration. But when Colonel Marcus Webb decided to make an example of Lieutenant Jessica Reeves in front of everyone, he had no idea who he was dealing with. What happened next took exactly 3.2 seconds and ended a 25-year military career. This is her story. The North Carolina heat pressed down on Fort Bragg like a heavy blanket. Lieutenant Jessica Reeves adjusted her boots on the dusty training ground, feeling the weight of 241 pairs of eyes watching her every move. For 6 weeks, she had endured Colonel Marcus Webb's relentless scrutiny, his barely concealed disdain, his calculated attempts to break her spirit. Webb wasn't just testing her combat skills, he was testing the entire concept of women in elite military roles, and he had already made up his mind. That Tuesday afternoon, the advanced combat training exercise was in full swing. The formation was perfect. 241 soldiers standing at attention like chess pieces on a board of sand and grass. The silence was absolute, broken only by the distant sound of helicopters conducting training runs over the pine forests. Today, we demonstrate proper defensive techniques under hostile conditions, Webb announced, his voice carrying across the field with military precision. His cold gray eyes found Jessica immediately. "Lieutenant Reeves, front and center." Jessica stepped forward without hesitation. She had seen this moment building for weeks. The public humiliation disguised as training. The test designed to fail. "Soldiers, observe carefully," Webb continued, beginning to circle her like a predator sizing up prey. "Real combat requires real strength. Not every soldier possesses the physical capability for frontline duties." His tone dripped with condescension. "Lieutenant, demonstrate your defensive stance." But Colonel Webb had made a critical miscalculation. Jessica's fill file was classified beyond his security clearance level. He didn't know about the 7 years of specialized training in classified locations. He didn't know about the Black Ops certification from programs that officially didn't exist. He didn't know about the counterterrorism operations in countries he'd never heard of. "Sir, what type of attack would you like me to defend against?" Jessica asked, her voice steady and professional. Webb's smile was predatory. "Let's start with basics. Defend yourself." Without warning, he lunged forward with what appeared to be a training chokehold, intending to demonstrate her inadequacy in front of 241 witnesses. That's how long it took for Lieutenant Jessica Reeves to redirect Webb's momentum, execute a textbook wrist control technique, and place him face down in the North Carolina dirt with his shoulder dislocated and his authority shattered. The sharp crack of bone was audible across the entire formation. Webb's grunt of pain echoed in the sudden, absolute silence. 241 pairs of eyes stared in stunned disbelief as the colonel struggled to process what had just happened. Jessica immediately released the hold and stepped back to attention position. No emotion crossed her face. No triumph, no satisfaction. Pure military professionalism. "Medical assistance required, sir," she announced calmly. 2 combat medics rushed forward as Webb struggled to his knees, his left shoulder hanging at an unnatural angle, his face red with pain and humiliation. "You're finished," he hissed through gritted teeth. "Assault on a superior officer. Court-martial. Your career is over, Lieutenant." But Jessica had learned long ago to prepare for everything. The micro-camera attached to her combat vest had recorded the entire encounter in high definition. Webb had initiated unwanted physical contact. She had defended herself using minimum necessary force. Within 20 minutes, the recording was on Colonel Patricia Webb's desk. Within an hour, it reached Pentagon review. Within 3 hours, 3 separate investigations were launched, not into Jessica's actions, into Webb's pattern of conduct. The investigation revealed what many had suspected, but none had documented. Over 18 months, 16 female officers had requested transfers from Webb's command. 8 had filed informal complaints through chaplain services. 4 had left military service entirely, citing hostile work environment. But this incident was different. This time, there were 241 witnesses. This time, there was video evidence. This time, Webb had attacked someone who could defend themselves. The disciplinary hearing convened exactly 1 week later. Webb sat across from a panel of 3 general officers, his arm in a sling, his career hanging by a thread thinner than pride. Jessica testified for 12 minutes. She presented the facts without emotion, without embellishment, without malice. The video spoke louder than any argument. The panel's decision was unanimous and swift. Webb was stripped of command, reduced 2 grades in rank, and given the choice between quiet retirement or public court-martial. He chose retirement. 4 months later, Jessica received orders for promotion to captain and assignment as chief instructor for integration training at Fort Benning, Georgia. Her mission? Ensuring that what happened at Fort Bragg would never happen again. The story spread through military channels like wildfire, not as gossip or scandal, but as doctrine. Jessica's 3.2-second response became required study material at the Military Leadership Academy. The incident was analyzed frame by frame in leadership courses, teaching proper conduct, appropriate force, and the importance of treating all personnel with dignity regardless of gender. Webb's career ended not in honor, but as a cautionary tale appearing in multiple ethics training presentations across all service branches. But Jessica's story became something greater than legend. It became change. 241 soldiers returned to their units carrying a message that merit, not bias, determines military worth. They became ambassadors of transformation, proving that strength not comes from intimidation, but from skill, preparation, and unshakable professionalism. And in the quiet moments after lights out, when soldiers shared stories of courage and honor, they spoke in reverent tones about the lieutenant who stood her ground in North Carolina dust and proved that true warriors are measured not by their gender, but by their character. The lesson echoed through every training facility, every command structure, every military installation. Respect is earned through competence, not demanded through rank. Jessica Reeves never sought fame or recognition. She simply served with honor. But sometimes, honor demands that you stand up even when 241 people are watching. Even when your career hangs in the balance. Even when one moment defines everything that comes after. In 3.2 seconds, she didn't just defend herself. She defended every woman who would serve after her.